Wednesday, November 5th, day after the NFL trade deadline, and that's what we're going to be talking about here today on Damon Bruce Plus. Welcome back. Hit like and subscribe. Tap that thumbs up. It's great to have you here. We're going to tell you about Ike sandwiches, the Dubliner West Portal, having some fun on Sleeper. Hey, Warriors got a back-to-back. Maybe there's a few plays out there. We're going to get into all of that, but we need to calm down the fans here in the Bay Area just a little bit this morning. And look, I understand you're frustrated. I really, really do. I understand you wanted more at the trade deadline. I get it. I kind of wanted something a little bit more too. But to say that they did nothing is completely incorrect. They did make a trade. They did it before the deadline. And then they actually made a trade many weeks ago to add Brian Robinson Jr. You know, I hear people saying they need to trade for a running back. They already did that. That happened. They added Keon White. What did Keon White do in that first game? Not very much. They picked up Cleveland Farrell off the practice squad, put him on theirs, elevated him. He had a sack in New York. He played well. And that brings us to Adren Key. I'm not here to bag on Adren Key at all, but Adren Key seems to be the player that represents the most. That should have been easy to do. He was a Niner. He played well when he was a Niner. You could have gone back to him. It wouldn't have cost very much to go get Adren Key. Why didn't they get Adren Key? It seems like everybody is a little upset. You kind of understand why they didn't flip 2 firsts for Sauce Gardner. You understand why Quinnen Williams isn't here. Trey Hendrickson didn't get traded. So, like, there's a lot of things that it seems like you understand, but everyone's still kind of angry over Adren Key. That felt doable. Well, let's talk about it like poker, shall we? I think this is going to be an easy way to understand. I've got Buster Bratmus, who has been a great fan of the YouTube page and is involved, always positive chatter. I love you, Buster. He says, please don't be like other hosts and piss down our necks and tell us it's raining regarding the failure to add at the deadline. We should be complacent. This isn't complacent. I think this is just a proper evaluation of what's going on. This is the smart way to play the hand. The 49ers, I've seen people say the 49ers have folded on their season. No, they didn't. They have not folded at their hand. They are still playing. They're sitting at the table, but they're just going to go ahead and stay. They're not re-raising anymore. And I don't think re-raising this pot is the right thing to do. Sometimes staying and not re-raising is the right way to play a poker hand. The Niners see their hold cards. They kind of like what they see, but they also know that there's a very good chance that there's someone at the table with better odds than them. Now, maybe you catch a little luck. Maybe you hit that card on the river, right? Maybe this still happens. But the truth is, a player like Adren Key isn't worth the mid-round draft pick when that mid-round draft pick could maybe be a Hall of Famer one day. And I know that that's a huge exaggeration, right? But, you know, we saw where, you know, a guy like George Kittle got drafted. He will go to the Hall of Fame. Adren Key's not going to the Hall of Fame. And I'm not bagging on Adren Key. Adren Key played some of his best football with the 49ers for sure. But if you think that you need Adren Key to be a good team this year, I got really good news for you. You got 11 Adren Keys right now on defense. Everybody on the Niners defensively is Adren Key. You don't trade for rank and file players. I don't even think you trade for depth when depth is an issue. You trade for elite players. Adren Key's not elite. He's good. Could the Niners have used one more good player? Yeah, I'm sure. Also take some solace in this. No matter who they traded for would have probably gotten hurt on Sunday against the Rams anyway, since that's the way the whole year is going. I think the 49ers properly evaluated the entire poker table, their own hand. They haven't given up on the year in any way, shape, or form. They're going to go out on Sunday and give all they can to beat the Rams. And guess what? If they do, they're in first place in their own division with 2 wins over the Rams, who look like the best team maybe in the NFC. You know, so this whole, it can't happen. There's no way they're going to beat the Rams or the Seahawks. They have. They've already beaten both of those teams. Don't tell me it can't happen again, especially when the next time they play will be at Levi Stadium. Both those games. You know, I think there's something also interesting in the trades that didn't happen that a lot of people are upset about today. Jermaine Johnson, Do you see that nobody offered a second rounder or a third rounder? We don't know what was offered. He was not traded. Trey Hendrickson, nobody landed him. Bradley Chubb. Now, Bradley Chubb, that's the player I'm interested in. Go get Bradley Chubb for the Dolphins. They shouldn't be asking for too much. That's a fire sale. Guess what? Bradley Chubb is a Dolphin today. Nobody got Bradley Chubb. Nobody got Adren Key, which either means nobody else in football was that interested in him, which means should the 49ers be that interested, or no one was willing to pay what the Titans were asking, 49ers included, and to me, that's a good thing. Asking for reasonable, measured response and patience is a big ask from football fans. I get it. You don't want to be reasonable. You don't want to be measured. You want to be aggressive. You want to see big, splashy moves and headlines, and you want it all the time. That was never in the cards for the 49ers this year. Remember, the kids love the saying, I'm here to stand on business. The 49ers are standing on business. This was a year of austerity for them, and they have really yet to deviate from that. You can't be giving up draft picks when you need to rebuild an entire offensive line this offseason. And there's a lot of what I would call confusing information going back and forth. And that's why I understand why so many people are frustrated by what this is and what they see. Because, boy, this glass turns from half full to half empty, no matter, just walking around at a few degrees, the angle changes an awful lot as to what you're seeing. Dave Lombardi, I think, did a really good job trying to explain what an exceptional scenario the 49ers are in right now. There could be a little paralysis by analysis, but not paralysis to the point where they didn't do anything. Again, they've already added 3 players to this team in season who were not with this team when training camp ended. So they've made 3 moves, 2 trades. They added Cleveland Farrell. So they're not just standing pat and letting the season wash over them like helpless, giving up on it. Not at all. Have you ever seen the 49ers just mail one in? You think they're quitting on this year? You're crazy. I think they're going to beat the Rams. How about that? So if they beat the Rams with the trade that they didn't make, will that calm you down a little bit? Now, I know, we're going to overreact to everything. And if the Rams win that game, everyone is going to say, oh, it's all over. No, there's still more football coming up after that. Dave Lombardi spelled it out. And I know a lot of you think that Dave Lombardi, carries way too much water for the 49ers. I think, he looked at this in a really reasonable way. And I don't have, I don't have a problem with this, with what Dave said. He says, first of all, the very first thing you notice when you look at the 49ers is that there are mass injuries to impact team leaders. Again, the difference between what did you do in the postseason isn't we got another Adren Key. It's Nick Bosa, it's Fred Warner. And unfortunately, those guys are going to be watching football through a veil of gauze for the rest of the year. We're not going to see them again. In a year where 2 of your best players will not be seen from again, do you still think it's mortgage the future? This is the only year we'll ever be competitive, now or never. You don't do that. Smart teams don't do that. And the Niners are a smart team. And because of that smarts, even with all these injuries, guess what? They are 6-3. They're 6-3, and that is undeniable. Now, they're also undeniably chasing 2 of the NFL's best teams in the NFL's best division. But guess what? They've already beaten both of those teams. And if they do again, we'll have swept them both. They are capped out. They have a core of aging players that are still effective. But how much longer can you keep on hoping that stays the new normal? And it's year 1 of what Kyle Shanahan very subtly, and I don't think it was picked up on enough, said was like the first year of a new 3-year plan. That's the way they're kind of looking at this. I think trades where they give away any future value is not exactly with the plan. It's not the right way to stand on the business that they're choosing to do this year. So I just think calming down a little bit. It's a big ask. I know no one likes to do it. It's so much more satisfying to stomp your feet and pound your fists and be angry at everything. I don't think you can be angry at this. I think the 49ers made a measured response. They didn't overspend. And guess what? The players you insisted they had to trade for are still on the teams that did not trade them, which means they were asking for too much. And I'm glad John Lynch didn't give too much and reach to add rank and file NFL players. There's enough rank and file NFL players on this team already. When I say rank and file, by the way, I'm not putting anybody down. To be a rank and file NFL player, you have to be a total stud just to be out there. The worst player in football is a badass, okay? But rank and file means they're not exactly game planning around you today. You're just a dude. Just a jag. Just a guy. You don't trade for just a guy. And they did when they traded for Keon White. He's just a guy. But they needed one more guy. So, okay, I guess you got to do that move. And at that price, it was the right price. Paying the wrong price for just that guy, I think it's the wrong way to do it. Buster, by the way, thank you for the super, Buster. He says, I have to admit my frustration is clouding reality. Again, admitting you might be a little drunk is a real good way to not get in a car crash. So, here's the thing. You can be as mad as you want. You can be as upset as you want. You can say, well, Damon, you're not the big fan that I am, so what? You don't care. I think that my measured detachment and just looking at this through the prism of what's really the best way to go about this year, I think the Niners are going about it the best way. I'm here to tell you that they're not going to the Super Bowl. I know you don't want to hear that. They're probably not going to the Super Bowl, but they might. And I just think you got to operate from there. Hey, I maybe you really would have gone, had some serious injuries not occurred, but here you are. It's another serious injury year and sucks. Everyone needs to chill, says Thomas Selman. Jermaine Johnson is 1 sack. Definitely not worth the second pick. Adren Key is 1 sack. Fans just felt left out. They got White. They got Farrell. They wanted more. I think that's a good way to say it. Bradley Chubb. I might have put a little bit more on Bradley Chubb on the table to land him, but you look at the year he's having, it's all right. I wouldn't be giving away an awful lot of tomorrow to just get that today. Plus, you all know that whoever they traded for would have instantly been hurt, probably at SFO, as they were picking up their luggage. Joseph Ernberg with the super says, can't wait for the shitty D linemen we get in the first. Here's the thing. No more D linemen in the first round. No. Tackle, center, guard. It's time for the Niners to draft for need. They need to improve this offensive line, period. I think it was a measured response. It ain't sexy. It isn't exciting. There's no new jersey to run out for anyone to go buy. I get it. If they beat the Rams, they're 7-3. Do you realize that the 49ers have played the most road games in the NFL, yet still have the most conference wins in the NFL? So that sounds like you got to go out and make a trade and make sure that, I don't know. There's a little bit of an illusion going on with this team. There's a little bit of a mirage. Is it an illusion? Is it a mirage? What are we really looking at? As I've been saying all year, we haven't even seen the 49ers yet. We don't even know what they look like. And guess what? We're not gonna. Because to really see the 49ers, you got to have Nick Bosa and Fred Warner on the field too. And we ain't going to see him at all for the rest of this year, which means we ain't going to really see what this team might have been, what they still could be. What they are is a bend, don't break defense that needs to get off the field on third down. That's it. They're not going to be sexy. They're not going to be the Ravens. They're not going to be the 85 Bears. They're not going to have an offense that strikes fear into the heart of defensive coordinators. They're going to have to fight for every inch of a football field that they see. They're pretty good fighters. In spite of their own situation, the Niners are pretty good fighters. And I think even the most upset Niner fan would have to admit that. We all know they won't target an offensive line. Come on. Look, Joseph, I think that there are hopefully enough real-time messages and data points being sent back to this front office that scream you can't ignore this anymore. So I'm not worried about that. It is great to have you all here today. Thank you so much for being here today. Hit like and subscribe if you're here today. My goodness, we're trying to get to 50,000 by the bye week. We're going to have to step up, start picking it up and putting it down to get there by the bye week. So come on in and help me out. Thank you so very, very much. And let me say thank you very, very much to Ike of Ike's Sandwiches. I love Ike. I don't know if you've eaten at Ike's. I hope you have. It is a fantastic place to get a sandwich. And no matter what your taste may be, believe me, he's got a sandwich waiting for you. Now, Fat Boy sandwiches out the door, you bet. Look at this Fat Boy sandwich. That's a Fat Boy sandwich if there ever was one. I love that Fat Boy sandwich. As a matter of fact, that Fat Boy is me. You can do healthy. He's got more vegan options than you would ever think of. I don't like you vegans, but if that's the way you got to go, he's got you. Sign up for that Ike's Love Rewards program. Hopefully there is an Ike's opening near you soon. You're in a delivery area. My man is growing. And I want you to start going to the Dubliner West portal in San Francisco. You can walk in there with your Ike sandwich and eat it right on the bar. I mean, Kenny might ask you for a bite. No, he won't. Kenny will leave you alone as you eat your sandwich in peace as long as you tip well. Go take care of Kenny and John over at the Dubliner West portal. It's a fantastic bar full of locals. What do you know? These aren't like tech bro douchebags in the marina. These are local, normal San Franciscans who do things like have normal jobs. What are you, a venture capitalist? Not in the Dubliner. I don't know if that's a compliment or not. To me, it is. I think it's a compliment. So our friends at Sleeper have been a phenomenal sponsor so far this year, and we have sent them an awful lot of you who have signed up for Sleeper using promo code Damon, which you can just click on the live description or the description right here in this live video. Use promo code Damon to get a $100 deposit match up to your first $100 deposit over on Sleeper. Like I said, the Warriors got a back-to-back. There's no more baseball to bet on, but a football season starts again on Thursday night. We got Raiders and Broncos is our Thursday night game coming up next tomorrow night. And then week 10 it's pretty amazing how quickly it's all going by. It really is. So thank you so much to our sponsors. Thank you so much to Sleeper, to Ike's, to the Dubliner West portal. Thanks to all of you. And again, you tapping like and subscribe is the secret to this channel's success. There's nothing more I can do other than ask you to tap like and subscribe. And if you dig what you're seeing, please do. And if you don't, well, I guess I haven't done my job. Maybe you'll come back and do it another time. But thanks so much for being here today. Let's talk a little bit about how the Jets are an awful football team. The Jets are an awful football team. They're an awful outfit, and the owner has chosen a new direction, which seems great. But the bad news is Woody Johnson is going to choose another new direction before this direction really even gets underway on your journey in this direction. And that's what bad teams do. Really bad teams either change direction too often or not at all. I guess that would be the Raiders. You say, well, wait a minute. The Raiders have made a lot of changes. No matter what change the Raiders make, it never works. So they're always stuck in the mud. But the Raiders are always like putting it all on a coaching staff. They're firing a coach, getting rid of this staff, getting rid of that staff. The Jets said goodbye to two players who are, within the top 3 or 5 at their position in all of football. They dealt Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner yesterday. Jets traded Gardner to the Colts for 2 first-round picks and wide receiver Adonai Mitchell. They dealt Williams to the Dallas Cowboys for a 2026 second-rounder, a 2027 first-rounder, and they also get current Cowboys defensive tackle Mazi Smith, who himself, along with being a massive disappointment that the Cowboys have given up on, was their first-rounder from just 2 years ago. So in a weird way, you get that first-rounder too. And in a span of 3 weeks, you add Michael Carter II, who they traded to the Eagles. They have said goodbye to 3 of their best players in the last 3 weeks. They are an awful team. This might be a chance for them to be something other than an awful team. While the Raiders, holding on to Max Crosby, have no chance to be anything other than an awful team. How often do you get to look at the Jets and go, yeah, I think they did the right thing? Giving up on that season? Absolutely. Kicking the can down the road, saying we'll fight more tomorrow? It's the right thing to do. I mean, you're getting your teeth knocked out in the fight this year, so yeah, wrap it up. Don't mistake an action by the 49ers for them giving up on anything. They're just no longer reinvesting in the poker game they're in, which I think, given the hand that they've been dealt, is probably the right way to go about it. Maybe I'm wrong. How about that? A Damon Bruce membership gifted. Michael, did you just sign someone else up to be a member of this, the initiated? Well, thank you very, very much, Michael. I appreciate that very much. That's spreading the love. I hope you're right, Damon. Better be a good O-line. Yeah, they're going to need a good O-line next year. The Dun 98. Drop the. It'd be cleaner if you were just Dun 98. Now, I know I told you that we are a proud sleeper sponsor. I always tell you when we tout Sleeper that you're going to want to make good choices and you're going to want to be responsible. And whenever you are thinking about putting some money down, that better be discretionary income. That isn't money that you need. That's a little extra money that you want to play around with. And that's fine. You know, part of the great thing about this country is I can't tell you what to do with your money. You can save it as much as you want. You can blow it as much as you want. It is yours. But I do care about you. And I'm really rooting for you. And what I can tell you is that an awful lot of people who are in the world of gambling that is now all around us in sports, they don't care about you. They would like to shake you for every dollar in your wallet. And if your family goes hungry tonight, them's the breaks. I saw this story, and look, it's concerning. Uncle Damon has some, future warnings for you, little prediction coming up. This is concerning to me. Americans bet $148 billion legally on sports in 2024. What is that number if you add in all the illegal bets? Legally, $148 billion spent on sports gambling by Americans in 2024. That is more money than movie, books, concerts, and the actual tickets spent on attending these sporting events that we're gambling on combined. Again, Americans spent more money in 2024 on gambling than they did concerts, movies, books, and sports tickets combined. We are not 18 months away from an avalanche of stories of bank accounts being down, people losing their jobs, people losing their families, people losing their path in life, people committing suicide. Suicide rates are going to go up because of this. There's absolutely no doubt. Absolutely no doubt. We're 18 months away from broken people on a level that will remind you and be reminiscent of the opioid crisis. There is going to be a gambling addiction problem the way that there was, and in many ways still is, an opioid crisis. And I'm just telling you that we, in this country, have always regulated things that are addictive, whether that be booze, whether that be nicotine and cigarettes and tobacco. It's always been regulated. Gambling was so regulated that you could only really do it in 2 or 3 places. You got to be in Vegas. You got to be in Atlantic City, right? It was so restricted because people thought it was that addictive. And now it's like all of the guardrails have been removed. Not only are the guardrails removed, but the encouragement, the insistence that you can't even enjoy sports anymore without gambling a little something on it. I'm telling you, man, there is a generation of young, mostly men in this country being fed dangerous, dangerous, dangerous signals right into their dopamine receptors that is going to fuck up their lives. 18 months. Mark your calendar. We are less than 2 years away from a massive gambling problem. And I'm not talking like gambling problems. This NBA player has got a suspicious box score tonight. Those are going to be our best gambling problems. The absolute devastation to America's poor and middle class, because this is sold as, hey, a really easy, almost risk-free way to make an awful lot of money. It's mark my words, kids. Bad times are coming. Warriors beat the Suns at Chase last night. Happened to watch that one, 118-107. Quentin Post, Moses Moody. Good games for those guys. I tell you, I gave up on Moses Moody after his terrible playoff run last year. Good to see Moses Moody playing well. I think I was wrong about that. Pardon me. Quentin Post, really good game last night. Curry, it wasn't a great night for Curry. He had 28 points on 23 shots. Not very efficient. And then you got a guy like Jimmy Butler who's like the opposite of that. Even though Jimmy can't hit a bucket falling out of a boat, hitting the water last night, he only had 2 points, but he was plus 17. Jimmy Butler doing all those other things that mean the Warriors win tonight. And let's see how team old man legs looks tonight on a back-to-back against a really bad Sacramento team up at Golden One Center. The Kings are terrible, but they're younger and they're fresher, and I wouldn't be surprised to watch them beat the Warriors tonight. Warriors on back-to-backs, that seems like a easy game to fade. Oh, by the way, use promo code Damon over on Sleeper if you want to make that bet, but do so responsibly. So we'll see what the Warriors got tonight. Meanwhile, if you don't mind me saying, some personal sports happiness news. Can I share my personal sports happiness with you? My group of buddies that I went to college with, my group of tightest friends from Bloomington days, we all have got our text chain. And I said, I am going to type a sentence that I've never typed. I can't believe it's real. This is actually happening. Here you go. This has never been said in human existence. Indiana football is minus 400 to finish the regular season undefeated. Again, I want to say it again just because it sounds so, it's just so fun for me. Indiana is minus 400 to finish the regular football season undefeated. Just winning back-to-back Big Ten games used to make me happy, and that almost never happened. Now we're talking about undefeated chances? Huh. May you live in interesting times. They're number 2 in the first college football playoff standings. So I can be honest with you. I really don't give a shit what happens to the 49ers. I've never been more football happy in my entire life. I don't need the NFL. Oh, my God. Indiana. It's like a 24-hour day shoulder massage. I've never been happier. It's just unbelievable. Gambling, the downfall of society. Now time for odds. See, again, there used to be a way to incorporate a little odds into a conversation where it didn't set off red lights. Now you can't look at a ticker without seeing the gambling odds everywhere. The other thing that is going to make me so personally happy tonight is Indiana basketball season starts tonight. Let's go Hoosiers. Indiana hosts Alabama A&M. We got Darren DeVries. His first game as IU head coach tonight. His kid's a shooter. He's on the team. Let's see what we got. I've never been less familiar with an Indiana basketball team in my entire life. This is the price that you pay with NIL. Every player that I knew transferred. all the guys that are now starting for this team are all basically new dudes. I've never been less from. I'm going to meet my Indiana basketball team that I'll be rooting for all year for the first time tonight. I hope I like them. It couldn't get worse. I mean, Mike Woodson really was the Bob Melvin of Indiana basketball coaches. So I'm happy he's gone. I'm happy for the new blood, and the fact that I'm not familiar with it. Okay, that's the world we now live in. No doubt about it. Okay. Are you ready for a little Today in History? That's what we got for you here, wrapping up this show. Again, like and subscribe. Thank you so much for being here. Today in History, we start with birthdays, and we wish a happy 70th birthday to Kris Jenner, the matriarch of the Kardashians. As far as I'm concerned, she's the single most profitable pimp in the history of pimping. She whored out her daughter one at a time, selling videos to Vivid. She whored out her own family, and they're all billionaires now. So congratulations. Happy 67th birthday to one of the scariest Terminators we ever saw, Robert Patrick, right? Robert Patrick was really good as the melting Terminator. Happy 66th birthday to the summer of 69, Bryan Adams. Bryan Adams, 66 today. His duet with Tina Turner, It's Only Love. That's a power rock duet. It's fantastic. Happy birthday, one of the best actresses we got, Tilda Swinton. She's good in everything she's in. Tilda Swinton is 65, one of the great actors that we have. And he was in the last season of White Lotus for about 3 minutes, and he stole the season almost. Sam Rockwell, 57 years old. Sam Rockwell today. Kevin Jonas of the Jonas Brothers. I can tell you I've never heard a Jonas Brothers song. I thought he was triplets. I'm surprised there's only one Jonas brother celebrating a birthday today. I thought you got all three. I did not know my Jonases were different ages. Okay, congratulations. Kevin Jonas, 38 years old. Odell Beckham Jr. is 33 years old today. Man, he was one of the hottest names in all of sports, and when it's over, it is over. And sadly, and we don't do a lot of posthumous birthdays, but today, Bill Walton would have been 73 years old. And all I can tell you there is, know our love will not fade away. Mbop, 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 bop. Know our love will not fade away. Bop, bop, mbop, bop. Okay. Oh, another super came in. We always like to get to the supers whenever they come on in here. It is just my man, Mr. Rando, just putting a rando $2 in the ganja jar. Thank you very much, Mr. Rando. Appreciate that. Today in 1605, we're going way back for this one. Today in 1605, Guy Fawkes, I don't think, can we say that word on YouTube? Guy Fawkes had his gunpowder plot where he had 36 barrels of gunpowder at the House of Lords. He was going to blow up Parliament. They stopped him. But the V mask, the what you see, the Guy Fawkes mask, comes from this moment. So today in 1781, John Hanson was elected the first president in Congress assembled. This is before George Washington became the first president. George Washington became the first president of the United States in 1789. But in 1781, I mean, my God, we've had the Declaration of Independence in 1776. Who's running this joint? Well, there were a small handful of mostly forgotten short-term presidents, one of them more famous than the others. Those guys were John Hanson, Elias Boudinot, Thomas Mifflin, Richard Henry Lee, Nathaniel Gorham, Arthur St. Clair, Cyrus Griffin, and a guy whose signature was so impressive, it became the catchphrase and buzzword. It's the Xerox of, can I have your signature? John Hancock. John Hancock was one of those, you get a year to run shit before we start electing presidents. Okay. All right. Interesting stuff. Today in 1935, Parker Brothers launched the board game Monopoly. I don't even think it's an exaggeration to say that unless there was some sort of organized, mandatory, official, formal Monopoly tournament format that the game was being played under, is it safe to say that no one has actually ever properly, to its completion, finished a game of Monopoly? I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that 99.9999999% of all Monopoly games just eventually fizzle out to everyone losing interest and basically giving up. The game starts fun and then just quickly descends into, this is terrible, this is math, this really isn't fun anymore. Can we all stop playing now? We know Steve is going to fucking win. Look at what he's sitting on. So can we just wrap this up and do something else? Is there any game that starts better and finishes almost never as much as Monopoly? Have you ever really finished a game of Monopoly to the bitter end? I'll bet you haven't. And I bet you played Monopoly 500 times. Never finished it once. Today in 1959, the AFL was announced. There were 8 teams: the New York Titans, the Boston Patriots, the Buffalo Bills, the Houston Oilers, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Denver Broncos, the Oakland Raiders, and the Dallas Texans. Few of those are still around. Few inceptions of those teams are still around. But there you go. We got the AFL today in 1959. Today in 2013, India launched a Mars orbiter mission, the first interplanetary probe. What happened? Did it get there? I don't know. Today in 2024, the first ever felon to be elected to the office of the President of the United States was elected. He has historic disapproval numbers and was dealt a nationwide repudiation last night. He will be remembered for building the Jeffrey Epstein Memorial Ballroom. You know the fucker I'm talking about. Thank you so much for watching today. Thank you for being a part of today's show. I really appreciate you being here, whether we got Niners differences, political differences, whatever our differences are. Thanks for coming on back. It's good to hear some different things sometimes. You know, I'm not trying to absolve the 49ers of doing nothing, but Adren Key is the physical embodiment of doing nothing. You don't trade for just a guy. The team is full of Adren Keys. If Adren Key is all you need, the good news is you got a team full of Adren Keys already. Everywhere I look, I see an Adren Key. CRM SHV 6826. Again, we've got to work on that. I believe in the free parking variation. I like free parking. Have you heard from Ray Ratto? Can you have him on as a guest? I meant to ask this the first time, but I messed up. Mr. Rando, all I can tell you is that I have done all I can to stay in touch with Ray. Ray doesn't write me back. I don't think Ray ever really loved me to begin with. I've asked Ray to come on the show. Ray, I think we're done. I think we're broken up. It's too bad. I always liked Ray. I don't think Ray likes anybody. I enjoyed talking sports with him. That's what we did. We did it together for years. People really enjoyed us talking sports together. We destroyed KNBR and Afternoon Drive all the time. And I have not talked to him since the day we got laid off. And the only time I ever heard Ray surprised ever is when I said, Ray, I'm so sorry this happened. He's like, what do you mean? You got laid off too? I was like, yeah. He couldn't believe it. He thought he got his bullet. I was going to stay. It's the only time I ever heard Ray surprised by anything. I wish Ray the very best. I can't do any more than ask him to come on the show. Maybe change his phone number. New phone. Who dis? Ray Ratto. I don't know. Either way, thank you for watching. Thanks for today's supers. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to all of you for watching. Hey, beat the Rams on Sunday. See what happens then. Sports don't build character. They reveal it. And like that, he's gone.